tearing down the walls that stand between freedom and tyranny, revealing who is behind the curtain, pushing the buttons and pulling the handles, sharing the truth one fact at a time, broadcasting from behind enemy lines, from the biggest little city in the world. This is The Views Expressed Live.
Get ready.
Hey folks, this is the Views Expressed podcast for the 3rd of September 2014. How y'all doing? Hey, I know there was a system-wide crash of Facebook for about 5 minutes, and I bet people were panicky. Oh my God! Well, let me tell you something. A couple of things. First of all, it happened here in the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada, and I have to really say that I thought it was some clandestine organization that shut it down in the local area because they didn't want people to know what was going on. There was an officer-involved shooting in town here, and so it was on Facebook, and the news station here put it up on Facebook, and I was looking at it, trying to read it, and I was going to share it, and when I went to share it, the system went down. So anyway, I'm doing good. Facebook is now up and running. It was only down for about 5 minutes, and it wasn't some clandestine organization, although Facebook is ran by the CIA, NSA, and all of that. So I don't know. So anyway, let me tell you what's coming up on the show today. Already talked about Facebook going down. Also from Reuters, U.S. allies to stage exercises in West Ukraine as battle rage in East. Yeah, we funded them, folks. How's that? But anyway, yeah, isn't that just wonderful? Also, we need to be rising up against tyranny. Now, how do we do that? Well, a lot of ideas. A lot of thoughts, a lot of things that people might come up with, a lot of concepts that people might have. But I want to tell you that there's a lot of things that, honestly, people do not really recognize. And for any change to take place, you have to recognize and accept that there is a problem. Now, the federal government, Washington, D.C., specifically, let's just say they are the perpetrators, creators and perpetrators of all the bullcrap that's going on around the world with their allies and everything like that. Now, a vast majority of the people in the United States of America know this. They know that the government is corrupt. They know that they're staging things, that they're faking things, that they're propagating things, that, the federal government is a piece of work, okay? It's just a piece of crap, and it needs to go away. So, what do? Well, we have to rise up against tyranny coming out of Washington, D.C., and that's where tyranny currently resides. And you have to understand that, accept it, and move on from there. And if someone came into your home, or a group of people came into your home and began to force you to do whatever and pay you for it, that wouldn't go over well, would it? Free America Radio .us is the website. Free America Radio @USA.com is the email address. Ask me anything you like, no question off limits. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. Free America Radio @USA.com. That's Free America Radio @USA.com. And I shall be back right after this.
And will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Damn politicians. My mother always told me this country would be screwed if the liberals had their way. The only sanity I get is when I listen to Jeff Wagner on The Conservative Voice. only on the Conservative Radio Network.
Listen to Angel Clark Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Radio Freedom News Network. RadioFreedom.us.
Midnight Never Ends. 4 twisted tales of horror from author Thomas Amo that pay tribute to master writer of the macabre, Rod Serling, and the gothic little saloon where sinister artwork tells the stories in a place known as the Night Gallery. You're invited to join us as we display 4 new original canvases for you to observe and study, each with its own dark story to tell. We ask only that you do not touch the exhibited works, for very frequently they touch back. Midnight Never Ends. Rated for adult horror, 18 years old or older.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Hold on tight. Get ready.
Hey, welcome back. This is the Views Expressed podcast for the 3rd of September 2014. Lots of things going on, lots of things happening around the world. And we have to pay attention to them. Okay? We literally have to pay attention to them. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, I pay attention. No, you don't. No, you don't. Nope. U.S. allies to stage exercises in West Ukraine as battles rage in East. Peter Apps over at Reuters wrote this. Thank you, Reuters and Peter Apps. As fighting between the army and Russian-backed rebels rages in eastern Ukraine, preparations are underway near its western border for a joint military exercise this month, with more than 1,000 troops from the United States and its allies. Let me interject something here. We set up all that over there in the Ukraine. We funded it. We sent them the military. We put it all together. And now we're going in there to clean it up. That's like... That's like... having a beauty contest judged by blind people. Okay? It just doesn't make any sense. We set it up. We perpetrated it. We made it happen, and now we got to go in there and clean it up? Continuing, the decision to go ahead with the Rapid Trident exercise September 16th through the 26th is seen as a sign of the commitment of NATO states to support non-NATO member Ukraine while stopping well short of military intervention in the conflict. The annual exercise, to take place in the Yakorev Training Center near Ukraine's border with Poland, was initially scheduled for July, but was put back because early planning was disrupted by the crisis in the eastern part of the country. Quote, at the moment, we are still planning for the exercise to go ahead, unquote, U.S. Navy Captain Gregory Hicks, spokesman for the U.S. Army's European Command, said on Tuesday. NATO stepped up military activity in its eastern member states after Russia's annexation of Crimea in March and is expected to agree at a summit in Wales this week to create a new rapid reaction force of several thousand troops. That's the same that's the same NATO summit that President Barack Obama is going to. In addition to staging Air Force exercises, the United States is moving tanks and 600 troops to Poland and the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania for joint maneuvers in October, replacing a more highly armed force of paratroopers. But Rapid Trident will entail the first significant deployment of U.S. and other personnel to Ukraine since the crisis erupted. President Barack Obama will visit Estonia on Wednesday to assure the former Soviet Baltic states of U.S. support, and Estonia's prime minister on Tuesday called for a more visible NATO presence in Eastern Europe. Washington has promised Ukraine $52 million in non-lethal security aid and has already provided combat rations, body armor, radios, and other equipment. Pentagon leaders have met with Ukrainian counterparts to discuss a range of cooperation, but for now, arms supplies have been ruled out. Quote, "It is very important to understand that the military solution to this problem is not going to be forthcoming," unquote, Obama told reporters at the White House last week. The United States European Command says the exercise this month will involve about 200 U.S. personnel as well as 1,100 others from Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Britain, Canada, Georgia, Germany, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Norway, Poland, Romania, and Spain. Focused on peacekeeping, it will include common post drills, patrolling, and dealing with improvised explosive devices. While it involves many NATO members, as well as countries such as Ukraine, who are part of NATO's border partnership for peace, the exercise is not formally a NATO drill. More broadly, under a broad program titled Operation Atlantic Resolve, meant to show U.S. commitment to the European allies, NATO is running what officials say is a ramped-up version of its regular summer and autumn training schedule. They're trying to downplay it, folks. They're trying to downplay it, okay? It's incredible how this whole regime tries to get you to believe that they're doing the right thing, when in fact sending military, whether it be boots on the ground or drones, is totally the wrong thing to do in this situation. Now, of course, people are going to say, well, diplomacy works. Yeah, they've tried that. Didn't work. Okay? And some people are going to say, well, we're going to have to put boots on the ground because, Russia's right there and we've got to secure the area and all of that. Folks, I'm going to say this, that if you look at the reasons why we are over there, you're going to see something probably not surprising at all. Russia supplies oil to China and to other parts in that region. We are over there to make sure that we get some of that, and Russia doesn't want us to have that. So we got to go from there. Okay? It's all about money. It's all about oil. It's all about, power. It's all about who's going to move their, chess piece first, and all of that. So as far as I'm concerned, folks, or as much as I can look at this and interpret the signs, it's basically a false flag event to get us into war with Russia. Now, I say that with this in mind. That may not be factual. Because look at what else is over there. Look at what else is over there. Okay? Examine for yourself that whole region. Okay? Examine for yourself that whole region, and then you tell me what it's about. Okay? There are so many things happening in that region, and of course in that area, and with, of course, Russia and other places, that we are told to believe one thing when in actuality it's something else. Now we have this ISIS. Can they make up another name for this group? Because they can't seem to figure out a good acronym for the name of the terrorist group that the CIA and the Arabs fund and operate. So they don't know. But with all of this distraction with these terrorist groups, we're not being told what's happening in the Ukraine. I mean, did you notice it was only in the public eye for about a week, and then, it's no more, But now bits and pieces come out. And it's usually from Russia's point of view. And even Russia, talking about the terrorist groups, Russia said, you don't want to mess with us. So let's figure this out, folks. What is key to the whole issue when it comes to that area, to the Ukraine? Now, I don't know, to be totally honest with you. What else could there be? Okay. I'm over here on Drudge Report looking around. There was something I saw earlier and I don't see it now. Oh, there it is. It's right under the other one I looked at. From Reuters. From Moscow. Russia's strategic nuclear forces to hold major exercise this month. Now, didn't I just talk about a exercise? Didn't I? The forces responsible for Russia's strategic nuclear arsenal will conduct major exercises this month involving more than 4,000 soldiers, the Defense Ministry said on Wednesday, in the latest sign of rising tension with NATO over the Ukraine crisis. I'm going to put this on Free America Radio on Facebook. You might want to check that out. And the other one is there. You go to Free America Radio on Facebook. You'll see it. It says, attention, the views expressed live will not be on it. The link is in there for the story I just read. But here's the other one about Russia's strategic nuclear forces to hold major exercise this month. Continuing on in the article, in an announcement a day before the start of a NATO summit in Wales, RIA news agency quoted the ministry as saying the exercises would take place in Altai in south-central Russia and would also include around 400 technical units and extensive use of air power. The agency quoted Dmitry Andreev, a major in the strategic rocket forces, as saying troops would practice countering illegal units and high-precision weapons and, quote, conducting combat missions in conditions of active radio-electronic jamming and intensive enemy action in areas of troop deployment, unquote. He said enemy forces would be presented in the exercises as Spetsnaz, Special Forces units. Supersonic MiG-31 fighter interceptors and Su-24MR reconnaissance aircraft would take part, and Andreev said, saying the scale of air power involved was unprecedented for exercises of this kind. Both Russia and NATO have stepped up military maneuvers since the outbreak of conflict in Ukraine between government forces and pro-Russian separatists in the east of the former Soviet Republic. A Kremlin security advisor said on Tuesday that Russia would update its military doctrine this year in the light of the Ukraine crisis and sharp deterioration in relations with NATO. Let me go back one line. Both Russia and NATO have stepped up military maneuvers since the outbreak of conflict in Ukraine between government forces and pro-Russian separatists in the east of the former Soviet Republic. Folks, now, it says here in this other article that I have, and it's also from Reuters, and I'll put this on the top of the Free America Radio Facebook page as well. What were they? Where were they? Okay. In this other article that I read earlier, I'm trying to find it now. I'm there. Sorry for the silence. But it's interesting. The annual exercise to take place in Yavorif Training Center near Ukraine's border with Poland. Have you seen a map? Okay. Folks, I don't know what to make of this. I am totally stumped. I am totally stumped. What do we do? What do we do? I'm going to go to break. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'll come back and try to answer that question. For all you independent artists, musicians, and filmmakers, there is a place for you. Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz. Go to radiorocktheblitz.blogspot.com.
The views expressed with your host, Reverend Wayne, on Spreaker.com.
Eastland Radio Repertory Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor? Do you want to hone your abilities? Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com. We are currently looking for voice actors to fill certain character roles in an ongoing radio play in development. Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com.
This is Michael Vera with Late Night in the Midlands, and you're listening to the Views Expressed live with your host, Reverend Wayne Pierce, on the Free America Radio Network.
Have a nice trip. See you next fall. Attending their daughter's wedding in South Africa promised to be a vacation of a lifetime. But first, they had to face the treacherous gauntlet known as modern-day travel. Waiting for them on the other side of the world are an honest-to-goodness safari with amorous lions and elephants with anger issues, a life-affirming visit to a South African school, and an anxious bride and groom standing patiently at the airport with a sign that reads, "What took you so long?" The answers lie within the pages of Please Hold Thumbs, a not-so-round trip to South Africa, a true tale of turbulence and triumph from travel mug Scott Cherney, author of Red Asphalt. Available at Amazon.com in paperback and on the Kindle. You're listening to The Views Expressed right here on the Free America Radio Network. Hey, folks! Welcome back to the Views Expressed podcast for the 3rd of September 2014. It is always a joy to come to you and talk to you about all of what is going on around the world today. And we see governments falling apart. We see people not only divided by ideology, but we also see people coming together because they understand peace, freedom, security, and liberty. So my question to you is, which side are you on? Are you on the side that spreads the propaganda to divide all of us? Or are you on the side of those that want peace, freedom, and security? I know where I reside, and it is exactly where I need to be. And I can tell you this much, okay? I can tell you this much. If at some point, we find ourselves, let's just say, if we find ourselves on the side of those that want to do us harm, and we have that Stockholm syndrome, then it's not going to be good for us. Now, here's what our government is telling others. Infowars.com. Border Patrol told to keep quiet about ISIS terror threat. VP of Border Patrol Council is stopped from commenting on the risk of terrorist. VP of Border Patrol Council was stopped from commenting on the risk of terrorists crossing the borders. I'm going to put this up on the Free America Radio Facebook page. There's a video in it. It's not really an article, it's a video by Joe Biggs. I'm going to say this. I'm going to make this very clear. I hear people talk about Alex Jones and about other people. They're shills. They're this. They're that. I haven't seen any information pertaining to that or being revealing enough of what goes on behind the scenes. But I can tell you this. And I'm going to put this statement out to everybody who even thinks that, I'm a conspiracy theorist and all this. And it's just a whole plethora in the whole scope of this independent alternative media. And it's this. That if you don't have any proof of the things you're contradicting me about, you need to keep your mouth shut. I'm serious. Okay? Now, you can go and bash me on all kinds of other shows, and I'm going to hear about it, but unless you come to me and talk to me first and tell me why you're so upset, I'm going to ignore you. If you tell me to my face that I'm wrong and you have nothing to back it up with, you think I'm going to take that as credible information just because you say so? No. I feel it is best to be prepared when you are giving a speech, when you are preaching a sermon, when you are in a business meeting. You have to be prepared. Growing up as I grew up in Stockton, California, I was presented with opportunities, but I learned how to be prepared. So it pretty much comes second nature to me. So when I talk to people, I know what I'm talking about, number one. Number two, I can back it up. And number 3, I'm not going to bother with people that are so naive, so bent on contradicting me and everything that I say, because it's pointless. So why am I saying it? For example purposes, mainly for example. So why do I talk about it here and there? As a reminder, not only to you, but to me, that I ain't going to put up with no bull crap. I'm not going to have people inundate my Facebook page with crap. 9 times out of 10, I know that they're trolls, and I know that they're trying to drive a wedge between me and everybody else. Well, that ain't going to happen because I know every play in their playbook. Besides, I used to do the same thing until the proverbial rug was pulled out from underneath me and I realized what I was doing. I don't mind, actually, let me just be totally honest. I don't care what religious affiliation to any denomination you have. I don't care what political affiliation you have. I don't care what academic or collegiate affiliation you have. It does not matter to me because we're human beings. Doesn't matter your color, your what, it doesn't matter to me. We have to survive. We have to survive. Some people think that, well, when you get people like, like Hitler wanting to survive, he's going to do everything he can because he thinks it's right. Well, it was wrong. And it was proven to be wrong. So, let me boil it down for you in a more simpler way. It's about power and control. That's all it is. Money is a byproduct to help that power and control sustain itself. That's all it is. Has nothing to do with color, has nothing to do with creed, has nothing to do with political affiliation, had nothing to do with anything. The controllers of this world in every other country, including the U.S., are there because of power and control. They want power over the elements, and they want control over you. And they're going to take your money and help you with your own demise. Okay. Are we ever going to get over this? Are we ever going to get beyond this? Yeah. I believe we will. It's going to be hard. It's going to be, quite difficult to, really admit to ourselves that we've been lied to, number one. Number two, it's going to be difficult to get back up off of our butts after we've been knocked down by those idiots in Washington, D.C., and forge forward to build a better future for ourselves. But I think when the settlers came over here and saw what was happening, they kept pushing forward. They kept making it happen. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and they made a life for themselves. We can do the same thing because, believe it or not, we are a resilient species. I know. We get old and we die. That's the acceptance. We get older, we get 80, 90, 100 years old, and our bodies are no longer here. That doesn't mean that our families don't care for us, love us. Doesn't mean that the human being next door doesn't care. It just means that we have a finite life on this planet. And for right now, we have to make way for us to survive. Because I'm sure that most of us want to live into our 80s or 90s. So it's all about survival on our side of the aisle, and it's all about power and control on the opposite side. That's all it is. And everything in the middle is just window dressing and minutia. Is it important? Yeah, most of it is. Because we want to know the angles that the enemy has to cause us not to be here anymore, of course. But we have to do it now, immediately, right now, not tomorrow. We need to know, and we have to prepare ourselves for what's coming down the line. It is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, there's no question about it. It is what it is. I mean, you can take a look at take a look at the Ukraine. I mean, that's been in the news. Take a look at the Ukraine. When you follow the money and connect the dots, you will see that our government set all that up to take out a leader that we obviously, put in there in the first place. And we made it known. We made it known. We didn't like the guy. So now we put in another leader. I wonder how many months from now it's going to be before we get him out. I don't know, folks. I mean, we can go from there. We can speculate. We can theorize. We can philosophize. We can do whatever it is we need to do. But the bottom line is, we have to come together and survive. Okay? We have to come together and survive. There's no question about that. Okay? Now, Infowars.com, Adon Salazar wrote this: border agent retaliated against for speaking to the media. Federal agency relying on intimidation tactics to silence potential future whistleblowers. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent has been disciplined after talking to the press concerning the total lack of security on the nation's southern border. In other words, he told the truth. Ron Zermeno, a Border Patrol union representative working in San Diego sector, was one of the few field agents willing to comment on the recent illegal immigrant surge prior to a federal gag order prohibiting agents from speaking to the media. In letters obtained by National Review Online, the agency claims Zermeno disclosed to news outlets that the Border Patrol was understaffed, and that sending more illegals for processing in Marietta, California, would leave no agents patrolling the border. He also disclosed general information regarding the number of immigrants sent to different facilities and how many were in quarantine. I'm going to put that on Free America Radio Facebook page. Check that out. And when you look at a movement, look at a movement, the Tea Party movement, Ron Paul, blah, blah, blah. When you see all of that, and you see the momentum, and you see it build up, chances are at a certain point it's going to get co-opted. And most of these freedom movements have been co-opted. Okay? I don't know any true freedom movement that hasn't been co-opted. At least I haven't heard any of them yet. Which ones have? Okay? When you look at what is happening around us, you have to remember that this is all planned, it's all designed, it's all implemented by people behind the scenes. You're not going to get away from that. You just have to look at it. It's staring you in the face. Propaganda on the state-run media and all of that. I mean, come on. It's break time again. FreeAmericaRadio.us is the website. FreeAmericaRadio@USA.com is the email address. FreeAmericaRadio@USA.com. Hey, stick around. I'll be right back for the last segment. The BK Factor with your host Brian Keller on the Shake and Wake Radio Network. ShakeandWakeRadio.com. Don't wait until another natural or man-made disaster strikes. Have at least 72 hours of emergency gear near you at all times, and that includes food. Get your emergency food supply today. Go to freeamericaradio.us, and at the top of the page, click on the emergency food supply link. Help your family by purchasing as much emergency food supply as you need. You'll be helping out your family and Free America Radio Network. Thank you.
I knew it. This is an alien, and you guys are from some government agency trying to keep it under wraps.
I can't take it anymore!
You've got troubles, Mac.
Did you know that the first Matrix was designed to be a perfect human world where none suffered, where everyone would be happy? And it was a disaster. No one would accept the program. Entire crops were lost. Some believed that we lacked the programming language to describe your perfect world, but I believe that as a species, human beings define their reality through misery and suffering. So the perfect world was a dream that your primitive cerebrum kept trying to wake up from. Which is why the Matrix was redesigned to this, the peak of your civilization.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
Sharing the truth one fact at a time. This is the Free America Radio Network.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the Views Expressed podcast for the 3rd of September, 2014. Last segment of the evening of the show. Anyway, it's a podcast, so it's only an hour long. I have a lot to do behind the scenes. Free America Radio Network and the Wayne S. Pierce Show and the Views Expressed are scaling back just a bit. Still going to give you the truth and the facts. Still going to give you all the news, everything you need to prepare yourself. But we're scaling back just a bit. Just a bit. More news about that on the Free America Radio Facebook page. Free America Radio on Facebook. What do we do? I want to say this specifically to those that, well, let me get into the news. I don't want to give you my personal, I don't want to give you my personal view as of yet. Okay? As of yet. I don't want to do that just yet. Okay? I feel that in this type of, well, let's just say in this in this environment, okay? In this environment, there are certain things that require a person to have a much more open mind. Okay? I'm just putting it out there. In this environment, what's happening requires people to have a much more open mind. And I want people to really grasp what is happening. Okay? Now, and here's why I say this. From Reuters.com, Gareth Jones and Vladimir Soldatkin on Reuters wrote this. Putin unveils Ukraine ceasefire plan. French halts warships. Now, I was just talking about Ukraine a little bit ago. That's up on Free America Radio on Facebook. President Vladimir Putin outlined plans for a ceasefire in eastern Ukraine on Wednesday, but Ukraine's prime minister dismissed the proposal. In other words, he didn't accept it. While France expressed its disapproval of Moscow's support of separatist forces by halting delivery of a warship. After speaking to Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko by phone, Putin said he believed Kiev and pro-Russian separatists could reach agreement at planned talks in Minsk on Friday. Quote, our views on the way to resolve the conflict, as it seems to me, are very close, Putin told reporters during a visit to the Mongolian capital of Ulaanbaatar, describing the 7 steps he had put forth to secure a resolution to the crisis. They included separatist halting offensive operations, Ukrainian forces pulling back, and an end to Ukrainian airstrikes, the creation of humanitarian aid corridors, and rebuilding of damaged infrastructures and prisoner exchanges. Poroshenko indicated the conversation with Putin had injected some momentum into the efforts to end a conflict that has killed over 2,600 people since April, saying he hoped that, quote, peace process will finally begin, unquote, at Friday's talks, and that he and Putin had a mutual understanding on steps towards peace. But Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk, dismissed the plan. The Prime Minister dismissed the plan as a deception on the eve of a NATO summit that will discuss Ukraine, adding in a harshly worded statement, quote, the real plan of Putin is to destroy Ukraine and to restore the Soviet Union, unquote. That's been the plan all along, folks. I'm just telling you that right now. U.S. President Barack Obama also voiced caution, saying the conflict, this is what President Barack Obama says, voiced caution, saying the conflict could end only if Russia stopped supplying the rebels with weapons and soldiers, a charge Moscow has denied. Let me break that sentence down for you, shall I? The U.S. President Barack Obama also voiced caution, saying the conflict could end only if Russia stopped supplying the rebels with weapons and soldiers. Number one, we are the ones that are supplying the rebels. Okay. Continuing, visiting the former Soviet Republic of Estonia, now in NATO and European Union, Obama said previous ceasefires have not worked, quote, either because Russia has not been serious about it or it's pretended that it's not controlling the separatists, unquote. That's, let me break that one down. Let me give you this scenario. You and your brother or your sister are sitting in the back of the car while your mom and dad, you guys are going on a road trip, and your mom and dad are in the front seat, you're in the back seat, and you start pushing your brother or sister, and they're going, would you stop? And you tell your mom, I'm not doing nothing. What am I doing? She's the one hitting me. And then you hit her and push her. Look, Mom, my hands are over here. You remember that kind of crap? This is exactly what's going on. The United States funded and is operating the rebels in the Ukraine. And we're poking Russia going, see, they're doing it. Look, over there, they're doing it. While we send troops and recruits and weapons and all that to the Ukrainian rebels. You see where this is going? Well, let me continue here. In a further sign of the West's growing mistrust and disapproval of Moscow, over its conduct in Ukraine, France said it would not go ahead with the planned delivery of the first 2 Mistral helicopter carriers to Russia. Moscow has said scrapping the 1.2 billion euro or $1.7 billion deal would harm France more than Russia, and the defense ministry described the decision as no tragedy, but the move is likely to anger the Kremlin and underlines Russia's growing isolation over events in the Ukraine. New sanctions possible. The EU, which has followed Washington in imposing limited economic sanctions on Russia, could agree new moves against Moscow on Friday, hitting the defense and finance sectors, indicating European leaders were not impressed by Putin's new proposals. French President François Hollande's office said he had reached his decision, quote, despite the prospect of ceasefire, which is yet to be confirmed and put in place, unquote. The ceasefire proposals had little immediate impact on the ground. Shelling of the rebel-held city of Donetsk continued, and gray plumes of smoke poured up from the area that includes the city's airport. Rebel leaders said they had little faith in Ukrainian forces, or that Ukrainian forces would observe any truce in a conflict that has left Russia's relations with the West at their worst level since the end of the Cold War more than 2 decades ago. Quote, a ceasefire is always good, but our main condition still stands, to withdraw Ukrainian troops from our territory. That's the only reasonable way, unquote, said Vladimir Fayev, is that right? Andrew Fayev, deputy prime minister of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic. A truce would provide Poroshenko with some respite to revive, if I can read, a crumbling economy, battered by months of street protest against a president sympathetic to Moscow, and then the violence that erupted after his ouster in February, followed by Russia's annexation of Crimea, and then prolonged fighting in the east. A ceasefire may also be more welcome to Poroshenko now because his forces have suffered setbacks in past weeks. Putin is widely thought intent on ensuring Moscow at least continues to have influence in the largely Russian-speaking eastern Ukraine after the conflict ends through years of full-scale invasion by Russia remain in Kiev. Now remember that, folks. Hang on, let me read that again because it is very, very important to remember this. Putin is widely thought intent on ensuring Moscow at least continues to have influence in largely Russian-speaking eastern Ukraine after the conflict ends, though fears of a full-scale invasion by Russia remain in Kiev. Okay? That's very, very important. That's the piece of the chess game that is right there. How do you move around that? Or how do you move that into place to give you the checkmate? You see what I'm saying? War games. Putin spokesman Dmitry Peskov sought to address concerns over the ceasefire proposals by saying they did not address the status of the rebel-held areas. Some rebels want unification with Russia. Others want more independence inside Ukraine. Peskov also denied a statement by Poroshenko's office suggesting Putin had agreed to a ceasefire. That would imply Moscow was a party to the conflict, and Kiev later amended the wording. Despite Putin's proposals, the Defense Ministry announced plans for huge military exercises this month by a strategic rocket forces... Let me read that again. Sometimes I just start reading and it just blends all together. Despite Putin's proposals, the Defense Ministry announced plans for huge military exercises this month by the strategic rocket forces responsible for its long-range nuclear weapons, involving 4,000 troops in south-central Russia. Obama made clear NATO, which holds a summit in Wales on Thursday and Friday, would not be cowed. Quote, NATO, must make concrete commitments to help Ukraine modernize and strengthen its security forces. We must do more to help other NATO partners, including Georgia and Moldova, strengthen their defenses as well, unquote, he said in a speech in the Estonia capital, Tallinn. Yeah, if I could read, that will go on to the, if I don't already have it there, the Free America Radio Facebook page. It's just, folks, we have to understand one vital thing in this whole scheme of things. And that is, it's a giant freaking chess game, and only one side is playing for keeps. We brought the pieces to the chess game, and now we are in there manipulating it and blaming our opponent. But you have to look at the bigger picture. Follow the leads of these people that are talking, these outside of the officials that, you know, like these people in Russia and the US and all this and NATO. Look beyond all of that. You've got a huge gas line that runs into the area and out of the area. You have shipping areas in there. Strategically, setting yourself up in that area for economic purposes is golden. I mean, seriously. Now, is that the reason why we went in there and caused an uprising? Probably not, but that was probably on the list of, it was probably on the to-do list. Okay? So, what do we do, folks, in the next few minutes I have here? What do we do? Does those situations and circumstances affect us over here? Yes, they do. If we cannot get our petroleum from Saudi Arabia, who is funding most of the problems over there through our allies and through our intervention, the military-industrial complex intervention over there, if we get a wild hair up our butt and go after Russia, guess what? Saudi's not going to like that. Saudi Arabia is going to go, excuse me? No. No. They're not going to like that. We've already pissed off Vladimir Putin. Now we're going to piss off the king of Saudi Arabia? You want to watch our gas prices go up to $6 or $7 a gallon? Yeah. But they're cruising around $4 right now. You just piss off more people in the Middle East, and you're going to find we're not going to have such a happy day over here. The same thing with the Ukraine. No. We have to. That is only a distraction if you look at it. Because that does play into that region that we are in. Will it affect the U.S.? Only if Saudi Arabia gets involved and starts telling us, no, we're not going to help you go in there. If they already have, then, nothing's going to happen. But just wait. After the midterm elections, you're probably going to see gas prices go up, shooting closer to $4 or maybe even over $4 a gallon, and it's probably that in some parts of the U.S. anyway. But they're going to be cruising up to almost $5 a gallon. So, I mean, that whole area over there is rich in terms of product that we need, like oil and stuff like that. Hey, folks, I just wanted to do a podcast today, get some stuff in there. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. Please do, put in the subject line, radio, let me know you heard this show. And also, you can go to freeamericaradio.us. Want to donate to the show? You can. Want to sponsor the show? You can. Get your emergency food supply right there at the top of the page and help out Free America Radio Network as well as helping out you and your family. So, thank you very much. We the people have the power, for we are America.